I want to touch on. I want to ask you just a random question, yeah. Because during these beautiful conversations, I like to just throw in, just some random questions for people to get to know you more, and plus, to balance out the conversation even more. So, what is the best surprise you've ever got in your whole life? The best surprise.
Best surprise, probably for my 40th birthday. My partner, my fiance, she got me a present to jump out of an airplane to do parachute jumping. I always wanted to do it, and just that I tried to do it once in Australia when I was over there, and we got weathered off, and I always threatened to do it again, but it's expensive, it's a big deal, it's just with how busy my life was, especially my career and stuff. That's all I focused on, so to get that and do something that was like a real bucket list thing was just phenomenal. And today it's still one of the best experiences of my life. And they say life begins at 40, like no word of a lie, my 40th year was my best year on planet Earth. I travelled like all these amazing places. All the gigs I'd done that year were the best gigs I'd ever done. Some of the best shows ever. And I jumped out of a plane as well. It was like, and it was, we got weathered off a few times. Went the first time, I was like super excited. They were like, nah, we can't go up, it's too cloudy. Second time we went, I was actually really nervous, and I was like, wow, this is not good. Like, because I was always excited to do it. I feel like I'm a bit of a daredevil, but I was like, I don't know, I was getting just too old and panicky. I'm like, for whatever reason, I was really nervous, and it got weathered off again. I was like, thank God. And then the third time we went, they were like, up we go, and they were like, who wants to go first? And I was like, me. So I'm sat at the very front of the plane ready to go first, and when it was time to go, I just screamed with joy as we jumped out of that plane. And it was the rush of hurtling towards the ground. You still got photographs of my face, like, and then the difference between that initial rush of hammering it towards the ground at God knows what speed, to when they flip the parachute and it just goes from all this noise and fastness to just peace. It's just quiet and just calm, and you've got this mad adrenaline rush that's still coursing through your body, and you go from one extreme to another, and I still get kind of this residue of the feeling that I had then. And I remember, like, after it was finished, even like I had this feeling it was just I can't explain it other than it was just pure joy. I think it was pure joy of being alive. That was one of the purest moments of maybe it's the closeness to death that you feel, I don't know, but like I've never felt so alive. And I think sometimes being close to death makes you feel more alive, who knows, but it was such an exhilarating thing, that feeling of joy, and I've never had this kind of it almost washed over my whole body. And as the day went on, I could feel it like just slowly going away, and I was like, no, and I kept trying to think about the experience, and it would come back a little bit. But you know what memories are like? Memories fade, and then the memory's like a memory of a memory, and then you see the photograph, and the memories, is it the actual memory, is it a memory of the photograph? And that kind of disappears. So like when as I'm talking about it now, and I like talking about it because it starts to bring back just a tiny bit of that feeling, just a wee tiny bit, but it's not quite that. And I know if I'd done it again, it wouldn't be the same. It might be, but
the first time was special, wasn't it?
Yeah, of course, first time doing anything special. So big surprise. It was awesome. Hold on a minute, and you'll hear people say this a lot, but I'm like, no matter what, we could go on fine. We might have loads of differences, but we've got one thing we could connect on. And I think if the world focused more on what the things that connect us are instead of the things that divide us, then we'd just be in a better place.
Joey, you've had such, like a very, how can I put this once again? You've had such an incredible life, and obviously during your time, from your childhood, like so many things, like what you say, all of us are going through our own lives, our ups and downs, through our realities. Like, have you ever had therapy before?
I have. I have. Couple of times actually. I first of all got referred to anger management, which I done. And they were like, you need to get some more therapy, you had to go more in depth. So I done the anger management thing, kind of completed it. It was almost like a course of it. They suggested to go to therapy because I had a lot of stuff that I hadn't dealt with from my past, and that did help me loads. And I'm even toying with doing it again, because I think there's a stigma about talking to people, and I'm very lucky that I've got a great group of friends. I've got a good circle of people that I can open up to, and I find, especially where I grew up, that was seen as a sign of weakness, and it is a lot with kind of young men as well. And there's a real stigma attached to young men talking about how they feel. And if you look at even just suicide rates, like men completely outweigh women. Not that women don't have their own problems, but women are more empathetic and more willing to talk about the stuff with their girlfriends and stuff like that. Whereas men will just, depending what end you're from, it's like a big tough guy act, like, nothing up with me. But then you go back home, you're crying at your pillow, And I was definitely one of those growing up. I was a terrified youngster who was like walking about giving it the big man act, because it was the only way to not, be terrorised. Like, you had to act tough or get bullied. But that had its impact on me in a lot of ways. And it's stuff that I've had to come to terms with over the years. So yeah, I think therapy's a great thing, and whether it's with a licensed therapist or it's just opening up to somebody that you can trust. Because what you would tend to find is somebody, maybe a friend, you're like, I don't want to tell him because it's embarrassing. What you probably find is they're probably going through the same stuff or something similar, and just being able to open up to them, they might go, oh, thank God, now I can talk about this.
Big facts.
Yeah, facts, man.
And even talking about just like in terms of like, like all of us, we go through like certain some people call it dark, some people call it very low moments within your life. Like, what is the lowest moment you've ever like been through in your life, and how did you bounce back? Because once again, like, like these conversations, like sometimes someone might actually be watching this conversation, because sometimes when I have these conversations, I like to keep an open mind. Like, somebody might be going through a very, very low moment or whatever, and you just might say something in a conversation, and it just might spark something within their head to bounce back. So like within like your journey, like what's been the lowest moment that you've ever gone through in your life, and how did you bounce back from the lowest moment of your life?
Wow, there's a lot to unpack here, man. Maybe you should talk to my therapist about that. It's been far from sunshine and roses. I'm happy to say that as times went on, I've had more good than bad. But from friends and family passing away to violence that I've had to endure growing up, some real scary dark times. Even getting close to thinking about taking my own life at points. Not quite getting there, but when you're close to being homeless, that point where I said when I first moved to England, I literally get chased out of the country. Like, I was in trouble with the law as well. I had to go back up to Scotland to go to court. I thought I was going to go to jail. Those were real low points. And there's too many kind of catalogue, to be honest. And I don't want to wallow in self-pity, because I came out the other side, which I'm very fortunate to do. But in more recent times, I guess, like being able to talk to people and have friends around about me and be able to pick a right circle of friends that I can have that support has definitely helped any low points that I've gone through more recently. And having a partner that can be there to support me as well, and having a family that's certain members of my family that are really there for me whenever I really need them is huge. But there was moments where I'd really kind of alienated myself from a lot of people, because especially family and friends, especially when I moved to England for the first time. It was actually the second time, but when I moved to Barrow-in-Furness to kind of run away from Scotland but also like chase my dreams, it was a double-edged sword. But that was the thing that saved me, was like knowing that, like, there is people suffering. We talked about this before. There is people worse off than me right now. Like, I was going through some horrendous stuff, but like it could be worse. Like, I could have went to jail, but I didn't. I could have got stabbed, I didn't. I could end up homeless, but I didn't. All these things were on a precipice, and they could have went one or two ways, that fork in the road. And I'm very fortunate that whether through hustle, fortitude, hard work, or just pure blagging it that I managed to survive, and also through the help and charity of others who, you know, seen somebody that had a glimmer of something that they cared about inside and liked and wanted to help. So, you know, if you do see anybody in that situation, or you feel like they're in that, then, you know, whether you're close to them or know them or not, I think it's important to reach out to people and let them know that there's somebody there that gives a crap, that cares, that just wants to even listen. Because that's, I think, one of the biggest things is, like, people just don't feel heard. And as much as we're we're supposed to be more connected through social media, and, you know, you can watch me on YouTube now or whatever, like, it doesn't beat being face to face, you know, and like chatting. Our time at the college together, that's how we made the connection. That's why I'm sat here now. You know, if we didn't do that face to face, like, you know, if you just Instagrammed me, like, do you want to come on here, would that happened? Probably not. But we sat down face to face and we got an affinity, and I think that's something that's missing from society as a whole, is being able to. And that, you see that traverse through to how people talk to each other on social media. You get people replying on comments and stuff where they just say stuff like they wouldn't say in real life, because it's the issue. People don't have real life consequences anymore, and I think it's something that's trickling into real society. I see it with younger generation and some people where I see how they're talking to each other. I'm like, back in my day, man, you get bat in the face for for talking to somebody like that. Do you know what I mean? You know, as much as I was, you know, a bit of a young mischief maker when I grew up, I knew there was boundaries for what you could say to certain people, you know, because you get that. And I'm not saying we should go about handing out corporate punishment to people, but people, I think that whole life of living in the bubble of social media and just having that anonymity where you can say what you want and not have any ramifications is a very toxic thing. But the flip side to that is, like, being able to get out there and talk to people and show people that because as much as there is a darkness out there in the world, and you especially see that from if you're living life through a lens and looking online, like, get in touch with your life, talk to the wee old lady that's walking her doggy, and realise that there's love and there's good people out there.
For someone who's going to be obviously watching this conversation for the first time, like, you see, obviously by now they would know, like, you know, you're mainly a DJ, right? You know, like, what music do you play, and how do you describe, like, in terms of your, like, the music that you specialize in?
Yeah, so I guess I'm more kind of multi-genre these days, but still in the hard dance spectrum. So anything from trance and hard techno through to hard style, hard dance, hard house, I guess you could maybe call it, like hardcore, drum and bass, European hardcore, gabber. There's all these, like, sub-genres, and some of them have, like, changed. They've morphed through the years. The names now mean something else, you know. And, like, some of the stuff that people call techno now, I'm like, that wasn't techno 10 years ago. Like, what the hell? That's like hardstyle I used to play 5 years ago. Yeah. So it's a strange one, because I think that, you know, names of genres and stuff, they come and go, and essentially, you know, I've got a specific sound, whether, you know, depending, I have more of what I call a BPM range rather than a specific sound, you know. So, like, I'll play anything from maybe, you know, late 130s, 138, 140 through right up until 200 BPM plus, and everything in between, depending on the crowd, depending on what time I play, depending who's on before me, who's on after me. But generally I try to push the envelope with the crowd and play as much fun, energetic music, stuff that's quintessentially me, in terms of, like, I've never been much of an anthem basher. You know, if you want to come and hear all the classics, I'm probably not the guy to come and watch, but I'm going to make sure you have a good time. You're going to maybe hear music you've not heard before, but every track's going to get you up and get you dancing, and if the music doesn't, then watching me should.
And basically, you see, like, in your industry of work, you know, it's always partying, right? Having a good fucking time, going for it. Everybody's energy is up there. You get me? Like, once again, like,